Voting. When you vote, you tell anybody else how you vote? How about taking a selfie when you're actually voting, showing how you are voting? Can you do that? Well, that takes us to this week's case. It involves a real case that arose in New Hampshire. New Hampshire had on its books a law that prevented people from taking a selfie in the place where they were voting, in the actual polling place. And the reason it prevented that was out of a concern that people might sell their votes or be subjected to, frankly, fraud by agreeing to sell their vote, and that they would demonstrate that they were in fact voting for somebody who had paid them to vote for them, or an organization that had paid them to vote in a particular way. And therefore, the legislature said, we don't want to have that happen, and we're going to prevent people from taking selfies when they are there voting. So, there are 3 people who brought suit contending that you can't do this, that basically this law is unconstitutional. And why did they argue it was unconstitutional? They said it was unconstitutional because it was overly broad. What does that mean? Well, let's look at the argument on the other side first. New Hampshire, the government of New Hampshire, was contending that the law was constitutional because there was a legitimate state interest. The state interest was to prevent fraud in the polling place. And because somebody might go in, might vote for someone on the basis that they had been guaranteed payment or some other consideration for making that vote, and they wanted to demonstrate how they voted, therefore they would take a selfie in the polling place. And to prevent that, the state of New Hampshire said, we have to not allow people to take selfies in the polling place. Well, on the other side of this, the argument was that's overly broad. Here, first of all, you have stated that there might be a concern with fraud, but you haven't demonstrated there's a really major concern with fraud. There are other laws that deal with fraud. And in addition, you made this apply to everybody in New Hampshire. You said nobody in New Hampshire could have a picture taken in the polling place. And specifically, you said nobody can have a selfie taken in the polling place. We think that that's too far-reaching because it's not narrowly tailored to deal with the legitimate state interest of preventing fraud. Well, this argument went to a U.S. District Court, and from there it went up to the First Circuit Court of Appeals in Boston. There, the court again heard the arguments on both sides, one being that it's unconstitutional because it's overly broad, because it catches all kinds of people who are legitimately exercising their rights to go in and vote, and that it isn't narrowly tailored. Well, then you had New Hampshire arguing, well, this is a legitimate concern we have because we don't want to have fraud, and this prevents fraud, somebody going in and showing that they voted for somebody who's paid them to vote for them. On the other side of the coin, we again had, hey, it isn't narrowly tailored, and therefore it's overly broad. So, what did the court do? The court agreed with those who said it wasn't narrowly tailored, it was overly broad, and therefore the court found it was unconstitutional. And now, in New Hampshire, if you're voting there, you do have the opportunity to take a selfie in the polling place and show who you're voting for. Interestingly enough, one of the 3 people who brought this claim was an individual who went in and wanted to take a picture of himself because he was doing a write-in for his dog. And he wanted to show his friends that, hey, you can vote for anybody, including my dog. I did it. You can do it too. Okay, we bring you this case. We bring cases every week so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.